and her colleague Alisa, and all the creative event management people at this hotel for making, well, they saw my photographs and almost instantly they agreed to take the show. So, thank you. Yeah. And what you're seeing is just a small fraction of what I showed them. I'd also like to thank, well, I thank Shem anyway, but I'd also like to thank Paul Eyre, who designed the poster. So, it's all kicking off. Yeah, Paul Eyre, I don't think Paul is here today, but Paul Eyre, he created it, he designed the poster, and if anybody's interested, then there are posters for sale after this talk, and I'll be happy to sign them. No charge. For more than 30 years, I've been trying to get my photographs shown to a wider audience, audiences, and I've had many setbacks and broken promises. So this is a special moment for me, and I want to thank all the people who helped me. There are many people on that journey, but there are people like Ray Hendricks. He knew I was going to call his name. Ray helped to organise some of the musical things that you've seen tonight. So thanks, Ray, for organising that. And also Diane Schroeder, she's in there somewhere. Diane also helped to organise things, and she organised a couple of the musicians tonight as well. So thanks, Diane, for doing that. I also want to thank Donald Stewart. Woo! Yeah. Donald was one of those people who saw the vision from the early days, and he's been championing me. So thanks, Donald, for doing that. I want to thank other people like June Giovanni, Aisha Adoni, Janet Brown, Jacqueline Springer, Marcia Dillon, Rodney Watts, Marcia, Karen and Odette. Yeah? And that baby as well. Especially that baby. And yeah, thanks to my family for coming down today. It's really great to see them all and cheering me on. And I'm sorry for anybody who I might have forgotten, but it wasn't personal. But I think to really understand the true history of Notting Hill Carnival and Ladbroke Grove, you really need to read Ishmael Blago's excellent book, The Front Line, because that book tells the real story and struggle and resistance of black identity in Notting Hill through the voices of the people who were there. So for me, that is the essential book if you really want to know about Carnival. What you're seeing tonight is just my experience of Carnival, but Ishmael Blago's book is the real deal, if you like. The exhibition colour photograph was taken. Do you know what year it was taken? Can you guess what year it was taken?
2000.
Somebody said something?
85.
Somebody said 85, and they're right. That photograph was taken in 1985. And it was the band called Kokea. And since taking it, I never knew or met the lady in the photograph. Until I met her for the first time tonight. Hold on, it's coming. Easy. So yeah, I took that photograph in 1985, never met the woman, since taking the photograph. And then what happened? Glenn, a friend of mine, he saw the poster and he said he knew the lady. Who the lady was. And I said, I was a bit skeptical at first, and I said, yeah, right, of course you know who she is, because Glenn's that guy. But it turns out he was telling the truth. And he actually contacted the lady in the photograph. And so I'm pleased to reveal that the lady in the photograph is here, and her name is Michelle Gedron. So Michelle, can you stand up and introduce yourself 40 years later? And she still looks good. And she made the photograph beautiful. So, Michelle, many thanks.
12 years.
Can you believe it? I've never met that lady until today. For the first time since I took that photograph. So, all the stars were aligning tonight. So, Michelle, thanks for coming. So this exhibition is just part of my story. I don't claim to be an expert or an authority on Carnival, but I have experienced and lived it for many years. And this is part of my journey. And I'm happy to share some of it with you tonight. So thanks.
Thank you for that introduction and insight, and I hope that we can provide a little bit more through this Q&A that we're about to do. So, wow, I don't even know how to follow that. I'm just going to jump right in. So, where does your love journey with photography begin?
I think my journey with photography began through my love of music. Excuse my voice, by the way. I don't always talk like this. I'm not trying to be like Barry White. I just seem to have got a sore throat tonight, so you know, I'm not trying to play anything tonight. I think my love of photography started with my love of music. I've always been interested in music. I've always loved music. I've been interested in all kinds of black music, whether it's reggae, soul, jazz, anything. So I started, I bought a camera, about 30 quid I think it cost me back in the day. And those days we used to shoot on something called film. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but yeah, we had film. And I started going to concerts and taking photographs of people. At first it was more like snaps of concerts. And the more I took photographs, the more I kind of developed a love for photography. So my first real interest in photography started through music. And it was through my love of music that I started taking lots of different photographs. And so the archive that I have began with music. Yeah, and I've been taking photographs ever since. But to get to your question, what was your question? Oh yeah, so it began with that, yeah. Sorry? Yeah, it's, you know, senior moment. Talking about Carnival, just to get back to a bit of Carnival. Back in the day, I was living in a youth hostel in Harlesden, and yeah, the guys I used to hang out with, they were kind of, I don't know, you might call them street smart or whatever. We used to go to a club in Ladbroke Grove called the Metro to listen. Yeah. So there's a few more great people in there tonight.
That's what?
Yeah, that's it. So there was a sound system down there called Sufferer, which was run by Dennis Bobel. And every Friday night we used to go down there. So me and the guys, we kind of got used to hanging out in Ladbroke Grove. And then one day, one of the guys said, oh, you know, there's the carnival. Have you ever been to the carnival? And I said, no. So they said, yeah, you should go down to the carnival. So I took my £30 camera down to carnival and started taking photographs. And it was a strange year to be taking photographs because all of a sudden things kicked off.
That leads me to my next question, is about your first carnival ever. And what was that experience like? So, did you tell us the year that it was? Set the scene for us, set the scene.
It was in a decade called the 70s, I think. I think, or maybe it was somebody else, but anyway. Yeah, I think it was 76, I could have been 76, something like that. Yeah. In the hot summer, yes. So a few more people were around that year.
Very hot summer.
I was as I said, I was very much interested in music, especially reggae music. So I was interested in photographing a lot of the sound systems, because the sound systems was really what really rocked for me. And I was very much interested in dub and reggae and all the rest of it. I didn't actually know the sounds I was following, but we just, apart from Dennis Bobel. So I took a few photographs of some of the sound systems that were playing. And then we were kind of walking around Acklam Road and under the flyover, because in those days Carnival was different to how it is now. It was much more open. And you know, you could sense a little bit of tension. I saw some guys getting into some small little fights. And then these fights became bigger fights, and then, you know, the guys decided that they were going to turn their attention not to each other, but to the people, the boys in blue. So bottles started to fly, and then bottles started to fly, and bricks started to fly. And it all kicked off under the flyover in Acklam Road. I mean, people talk about their own story of Carnival, but I was there, of what happened that year, and it actually kicked off under the flyover in Acklam Road, and that's where the first kind of uprising began. And then once those small skirmishes became big skirmishes, then it was a full-flooded event. I was walking around with my camera and I was like, wow, these things are happening. And I just ran with the guys and took photographs. And some of the photographs were very shaky because I didn't know. And in those days, I said, you shot on film. So I was still learning because I was a youth, you know. So yeah, I took lots of photographs. And the funny thing is, I was learning, but there's about 2 or 3 photographs that I took in that year that are in this exhibition. I think maybe you can guess which ones.
Yeah, no, definitely do stay around to have a look at those photos, because to me, some of them almost look like paintings. The way that the grain was kind of showing up in the images, I thought that was really amazing that you were able to capture that moment. You didn't realize how significant it would be until, you know, we look back on history now and all of the things that have happened. So thank you. Thank you for documenting history, you know. Next up, your earlier exhibition, Masquerading, the Arts of Notting Hill Carnival, was a significant milestone for you. Was there any change of focus within your photography after this exhibition? And if you're able to tell the people when that was too.
Yeah, I started taking photographs in '76 at the very first carnival, and then the Arts Council reached out to black photographers and said they wanted to sponsor some photographers, and I applied, and I was one of 3 photographers. There was myself and David Bailey and Sunil Gupta. And the 3 of us were chosen for the Arts Council to document Carnival. So I decided, yeah, when they said yes, because I was taking photographs of Carnival and this was the first time I was going to get paid, so yeah, man, of course. The police? It's Dr. Michael Mammelin, an inspiration. Michael likes to make an entrance. He's a big respect to Michael. Michael is the man who created the West Indian front room. So big respect to Michael. He's another champion of mine as well, and big respect to Michael. Oh yeah. So yeah. Prior to getting the Arts Council job, the job, I used to take photographs of more of the street stuff that was happening. I was taking photographs of the sound systems. I was taking photographs of people reveling and all the rest of it. I wasn't really following the floats and stuff as such. But when the Arts Council said, come and come and photograph Carnival, I thought, well, I better change my focus, because I decided that I was going to do more of the floats and more of the soca. So I was kind of emboldened because I now had the badge of authority, if you like, from the Arts Council. And I decided that I would just do more floats. And ever since then, my focus on Carnival has changed. I've taken lots more photographs of the floats, the Carnival, the costumes, a lot more of the street stuff. But prior to that, most of my photographs focused more on the sound systems. I still photograph sound systems, even up to this year's Carnival. But my change began to change for me in terms of coverage of Carnival began to change, because I didn't really like soca at the beginning.
That's a whole other debate right there. But, this current exhibition highlights 4 central themes that you've chosen to explore. So Ian has picked these themes himself. He had a huge say in how things look and how things are kind of displayed throughout the show, and the themes as well. You've touched on ideas of joy a little bit and resistance, but another theme I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about is sound. What is the significance of sound for you?
Well, to me, Carnival is about sound. You know, you can't go to the Carnival and have quiet. You know, Carnival is about noise, sound, whether that sound is drum and bass, whether it's dub, whether it's grime, whatever. Carnival is about sound. And as I said earlier, I was driven, someone coming from over there, like maybe an agreement. I was driven to Carnival, I was interested in Carnival, as I said, primarily because of the sound systems. And I've always followed the sound system. So for me, going to Carnival, it's about, first of all, checking Abashanti, checking at Channel 1, tick box ticked, checking at Mastermind, check in Saxon. Yep. Big respect to Gladdy Wax. Go and check on Gladdy Wax. And then it's some of the youth man sounds jumping up and down with Joy, Grime and Rampage and this one and that one. And I love going to Carnival because I'm going to hear a mashup, mix-up of music that I never normally listen to. So I love grime, I love hip-hop, I love all genres of music. And one of the things that feeds me is going to Carnival is that I know I'm going to hear music that I haven't heard before, or maybe music I have heard before, but it kind of energizes me. So sound is so integral. And also, soca as well.
Thank you. We can't mention Carnival and not mention soca. We have to pay respects in that way as well. And of course, your soundscape is something that you had a heavy hand in curating alongside Black Male Beats here as well. So it's fantastic that you were able to really put, you know, your energy and kind of your experience into the soundscape. So when you come along and you come outside after this sort of Q&A that we do, later along the night you will hear some of that soundscape as well, which is amazing. So well done on that. Next up, I'd love to ask you to speak a little bit about your transition from photography to film and TV work.
Yes, Shem created a brilliant soundscape for the music. It's 65 minutes long, but you don't have to stay for all of it. But a soundscape goes from the beginning of music to the current day. So hopefully they've keyed it up at the beginning so we can go through that journey for as long as you can stay. After being successful as a photographer over a number of years, I kind of got a bit tired of it and bored of it, and I wasn't really making a living from it. So then I started to look for new ventures, and I was kind of inspired by friends of mine who were starting to move into film and television. And one of those people was Imru Bakari. He was one of my early mentors. You know, I liked what Imru was doing. I don't know, he's not here today, is he? No. Yeah. Imru was one of my early inspirers, really. And I saw him making films, and I thought, yeah, I want to get some of that, you know. I wasn't interested in directing. Coming from a camera background, I was only interested in camera. So I started to go, I went to film school, did studies there, went to Goldsmith, did television production there, and then I started hooking up. There was a movement then, the Channel 4 workshop movement was in full swing, so I used to connect with Black Audio, I used to connect with Chedo, I used to connect with Sankofa, got on very well with Menelik Shabazz, and then started to do a few films with Menelik. And I was also working with other up-and-coming filmmakers as well. One of those was a guy called Amani Naptali. I don't know if he's here tonight, but Amani was somebody who I got on well with, and we made a film called The Black Bohemians. And then after that, he said, there's an up-and-coming group that they want to make a video. Would I be interested in? And I said, yeah. And the funny thing is, I was supposed to go to Jamaica to see my family at the time. And it was like, do I go to Jamaica or do I stay in London? I chose to stay in London, and the group that we made the video was what's it called again? Keep on Moving, for some group called Soul to Soul. And that was my first ever video, Soul to Soul. And we were just a group of guys, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing, but you know, we were still very young and not really knowing what to do. But I really enjoyed working on that video, especially doing some of the handheld camera work, walking down Camden High Street, seeing some of the dancers, Trouble Anderson, this one, that one. It was a really great time, and you know, I think, was it 15 million views later? It's still going strong. Oh yeah.
That is a moment, sorry.
And since then, I did lots of other films with lots of other filmmakers. I did a few films with Menelik as well, the late great Menelik Shabazz as well. Did Lovers Rock and a few other films with him. And it was great working with Menelik, and it's sad that he's no longer with us as well. Yeah, one thing I have to say as well, when you're coming up as a cameraman, there used to be a joke amongst us as well, that we always used to say we could always guarantee as a black cameraman when you could guarantee to get work every year. And that was the 2 days of Carnival, because they always wanted a black cameraman at Carnival. So that was always a funny joke that we used to make. And it was true for a lot of the time. So I did a few films with the BBC at the Carnival, because people seem to be scared to go to Carnival.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, your work, is safe to say, has contributed to Black British canon, to the work that we see, the work that we you know, point out and is a part of the archive. So thank you again for your amazing contribution. And it's also good to hear these stories and to try and unravel the layers, you know, of the things that we kind of has come to realize is just kind of every day. I remember seeing Soul to Soul's video on the TV all the time. I had no idea that you were behind that. So again, amazing. And there's so many unsung stories. There's so many unlayered sort of histories and things like that that we need to be touching upon. So it's really amazing that you can speak on this today. Thank you. I feel like there's so many more stories that we could tap into. There's so many. But I want us to also note that it's really important to note that you're not just a carnival photographer as well, as you've spoken about many of the different kind of projects that you've been a part of. But what other themes feature within your practice and wider work for you personally?
As I said, one of the main things of my photography has always been music, because music has always inspired me, and I've always loved doing music. So I've been lucky to work on lots of music films, both behind the camera, as a cameraman, but also doing lots of stills as well. Oh yeah. So aside from the music photography, a lot of stuff I've done includes stuff in Africa. I've done lots of photographs in Africa. I was fortunate to meet lots of prominent people, politicians and various other people, and I've got lots of interesting photographs taken in Africa over the years. I was also covering lots of black cultural events happening in the UK as well. So I have a good history there. Lots of sound systems as well. Also working with a lot of African American politicians and some music superstars as well. So I have quite a wide variety of photographs I've taken over the years. Sometimes it's hard to remember all this stuff because I've done so much photographs. But I've got an interesting archive of thousands of images covering a wide range of areas. You know, I did photographs for Rastafarians in Jamaica, lots of sport in Jamaica, fashion in the UK. So Carnival is an important part of my photography, and it's something that I developed my photography through Carnival, but Carnival is just one aspect of my photography, and hopefully you'll see other areas of my photography in the years to come, because this won't be the last one, hopefully.
That is brilliant, thank you. I would love to just kind of pause there and have a moment to just say thank you again for your amazing contribution to archive, to Black British archive, but also global histories as well. You've been incredible, and I'm definitely in awe of your practice and your work. So very, very, very well done, and thank you again. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Yeah, we can take a couple questions. We definitely got some time for this. I think it's best if you call out if you can.
Yes.
I'm just going to start with you as you are.
Yeah, thank you.
The answer is no.
Incredible. Thank you so much, number one, for inviting us all to share in this amazing opening of the exhibition. The question I wanted to ask you, Ian, I know you from television, so right. I'm honestly flabbergasted at the body of work that you've had. What are you going to do with all those thousands of photographs to ensure that more people can access that history and that archive?
Thank you. That's Bridget Banton, a very famous person.
Please, sit down.
Done lots of stuff. One of the people who actually told me that I had a great archive was my Bridget Donald, who's falling asleep over there. And Donald was very inspiring, because him and Paul Ayer, they looked at my early photographs and they said, why are you sitting in this archive? And I haven't really told you what I've really got, but there's lots of dub plates I've got in my photo collection. A lot of specials, you'll be surprised at the specials I have. So they looked at my photographs and they looked at what I had, and they just said, look, you need to get your photographs out. But I've been on this journey, I think it was about 2017, 16, we started doing this. And we went to a few galleries and showed them stuff, and they were like, yeah, well, so what? And Carnival was one of those things, but there's lots of very great photographs, even if I say so myself, that I have in my collection. So the photographs will be coming out. Recently, there's been a lot more interest in terms of my photographs and there is something happening in March next year. I can't say what it is yet, but there is something next year at a well-known place. And hopefully there will be other stuff to come. So yes, my photographs are coming up, and there's talk about doing some book as well. That's
It's worth noting as well that there are archives accessible for the public to view in many institutions. So you've got places like George Padmore Institute, which is headed by Michael LaRose, son of John LaRose, who is an incredible Caribbean archivist, writer, exhibitionist. There's all types of things, you know, that there is to explore. You've also even got in, where is it, Brixton Cultural Archives as well, Black Cultural Archives. You've got Autograph ABP in Rivington Place, just down the road. So there are so many archives that are available to us, and I think it's really important that we start to galvanise and display some of these archives, because there are a lot of questions around who owns these archives and why the people then don't have access to it as well. So that's a whole other conversation. But I know we had another question as well.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Ian, for just a wonderful display of images, because it just brings so many memories back. But I just want to give a point of information, because you mentioned Soul to Soul. And those of you who knew Soul to Soul from its founding, Daddy Harvey passed on Tuesday. So there'll be obviously things against us. So I just want to
Danny Harvey, I think Danny Harvey is the face, or his image is the image that Soul to Soul have used. Yeah, so I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, the funky dress symbol was Danny Harvey. I didn't know that, so sorry to hear that. And it was interesting that time as well, because Soul to Soul used to have a shop in Camden Town, and we filmed outside there for the video as well. And it was an interesting time, and lots of things were happening in the community at that time. You know, Soul to Soul were happening, and it was just a good vibe. You know, it was a good vibe. Yeah, so sad to hear that.
I actually do have a question. Yeah, go on. One of your first productions, and there was a small room full of people, was the film on the Kenton.
Oh yes.
What's happened to that?
Yeah, I made a film for the Arts Council / BFI in 1992. One of the very first films I did. It was written, produced, shot all by myself with a great team of people, and it was the film is called Kanga, and it was part of the BFI's collection, but I've taken it out of there for the time being. But that will be released at some point, because it's an interesting film that showed when Brixton was Brixton, if you like. And it's it's an interesting story. It mixes fiction and drama and a love story into a 15-minute short film. Yeah. When Brixton had a market, not a village.
Thank you. But again, it's really important that you're documenting these histories so that people know who was here, you know? Okay.
It's interesting you talk about 76. Janet, we've been on a journey together.
Janet is another prominent person in the community. Filmmaker.
My father was friends with Claudia Jones, who started the first one. And I wish I had kept a funeral program. When my father moved, I think it got lost. But Ian and I have been on a journey. I just remember Ian, Marylebone Station, going to National
Going to the film school, yeah.
Going to the film school every day, on that bus. But Ian has been constant, and there is a few of us who've been constant in changing the lens of Britain. That's really important, the lens, that how we see ourselves, how we value ourselves. And there are a few people in my life, and I can say that we love each other, and he's one of them. But I remember 76, when that trouble started, I saw